Hi, my beautiful friends. Welcome to my channel, Tropical Empress in Spirit. My name is Amanda. If you're new here, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. I greatly appreciate your love and support. Today, I wanted to get into a topic where I've gotten a lot of questions about. I've had people on other social media platforms ask me, how do you handle it if you are psychic yourself and you want to, warn a loved one that something's going to come in the future, or just something in that present moment, like you may get a message that would be helpful or beneficial to, the person you're talking to at that present time. And it's really going to vary greatly depending on the situation and where, that person stands and what the information exactly is. So I'm going to tell you, give you a couple of stories, to kind of give you a rough estimate of what I'm referring to kind of help. I hope it'll help. And if I have to make another video about it later, to kind of get more specific, I will. I know there's another video I got to make that will kind of go with this already, but just, bear with me. So I want to go back to when I first really started to accept my psychic abilities, which would have been about 15 years old. Back then, I wasn't telling people, that I'm psychic and that I had this gift. I felt like it wasn't other people's business, maybe. I think I also felt like there was probably going to be a lot of people who probably think I was crazy or wouldn't believe me, and I'm a teenager and I'm already dealing with a lot, going through my teenage years, plus having a terminally ill mother. So I kind of kept it to myself. But I did end up having something happen about a year or two later. I think it was like my late sophomore year of school, I want to say it happened. Where I was forced to kind of tell them, but it was like a different situation. And what I mean by that is I've had to go through over the years. I've always hidden my gift from most people around me. Up until recently in the past year, I've been, behind, closed doors where nobody knew except for the people in my closest circle. But even everyone in my closest circle, whether you want to call them friends, relatives, work colleagues, anything like that, I didn't even tell most of them. I still kept it to myself. And the reason I did that is because I didn't want to jeopardize my relationship with them. If I wasn't sure what their feelings were about, whether it's ghosts, the spirit world, their, heaven, God, religious beliefs, and so on. So I would never bring up the conversation in any kind of way, or just flat out say I'm psychic, like, hey, guess what, friend, or family member, whoever, I'm psychic. No, I've never done that, It's always had to be in a situation where it somehow came up by them asking a question or something along those lines. So an example of this would be when I met my husband. I was 20. My mother had only been dead probably about, I want to say, 8 months roughly. And I wasn't interested in a relationship. But for some reason, it seemed like there was like a magnetic pull between us that I've never felt with anyone before that. And he was determined to talk to me that day when he saw me. And, he said out of all the years he's been on this world, he's never approached a woman like that. He's never asked a woman out. So I was the first. Well, I really wasn't looking for a relationship back then. I was kind of still wanting to be single because I had just ended a serious relationship with someone else who wasn't really as supportive of me as I felt I needed at that time for, in different ways. And plus they were, long distance. So, and I was also still grieving the loss of my mom. So I had a lot going on personally that I wasn't looking for love. Well, because there was such a magnetic pull between us, it kind of ended up going down that road. And after we had been dating, I don't know, maybe a few months, I was at his house one afternoon, and we were just sitting at the kitchen table talking, and he just suddenly just looked at me. He was like, "What are you looking at? What do you keep looking at?" And I'm just kind of, "What? Huh?" And he's like, "Well, you keep, looking, you're turning your head over, that direction or this direction, and, noticing that I'm breaking eye contact with him, and looking away. Like like I see something." And I was just like, yeah, okay. I wasn't ready to have that conversation with him. So I had to approach it this way. So I asked him, I said, "So what are your beliefs? Do you believe in the spirit world? Do you believe in heaven, reincarnation, ghosts, psychics, just, tell me what are your beliefs? What do you believe?" And blah, blah, blah. So he told me that he believes in God, he believes in heaven, reincarnation, and he also believes in ghosts. What he didn't believe in is psychics. And I'm like, okay, so, and I'm trying to figure out, how do I have this conversation with him, and answer his question and be honest with him. So I told him, I said, well, I said, "I know, you may not believe," I said, "but I'm asking you," I said, "hear me out here, I said, you say you believe in ghosts and you would love to see a full body apparition, ghost, I said, well, in order for that to happen, I said, you have to have a psychic gift called clairvoyance, and I said, and, so if you have that gift or not, we'll only, say if that's going to even be a possibility, at least that's the way I understood it back then. And then I told him, I said, and, you keep asking me what I'm looking at when I'm looking away, like I'm seeing something. I said, well, because you asked me, I'll tell you. I said, I have that psychic ability of clairvoyance and a couple other different abilities. And so when I look away, when I'm breaking eye contact with you, I said, it's because I'm seeing spirit orbs. I said, and they're appearing, out of the corner of my eye, out of this way or this way. So when you see me do this or even look above your head, it's because I see a spirit orb, and I'm watching it, trying to, tune in to figure out who it is. I said, so I know you don't believe, but this is what it is, so I was glad I had the conversation with him, because it turned into a deep conversation, but it left me with a lot of questions at that point. I spent a few more hours with him that day, and then I went home. And I asked myself, like, how can I go through and carry on a relationship with someone who doesn't believe in me? Whether he doesn't believe in psychics, I'm psychic, so you're telling me he doesn't believe in me. And I wasn't sure how to handle that situation. I wasn't sure if I could even do it, because I had to sit there and think about, okay, if he doesn't believe in me or believes in psychics, how is this going to work? Because is it going to, reach a point that he's not going to believe in anything I may say, or, something that I get told or warned about, and that's going to cause an argument, and then it's going to cause us to go our separate ways. So I wasn't sure how to handle that. So that's what I had to ask myself. And so I spent the time thinking, like, okay, I ran away from this for many years, up until my, teenage years. I didn't want to talk about it. I avoided it. And if I saw things, I wouldn't tell anybody. But it's not like anyone back then ever, noticed that I would look away, or, that I was looking at something that they couldn't see. I never had to answer that question before. So, but, it hurt me that if I were to pursue this relationship with him, let's just say we get married, if it becomes that serious, could I do this? How do I walk that fine line of being in a relationship with someone who doesn't, believe in me, but is someone that I love and want to be with, and who loves me too, because at the time I already started developing strong feelings for him, and he also started developing strong feelings for me. So I wasn't sure what to do. And I kept having to ask myself that question, like, how do I go about it? How do I, navigate this whole thing? And all I could do is realize that I had to be more mindful that if I saw something, like a spirit or whatever, that I try not to look that direction. As crazy as that sounds, like if I could do that, but it's just natural for me to look away. But at least he would know that I see something, whether he believed in it or not. I just wouldn't bring up the subject. And if I got like warnings, if I was told like something, if I got feelings, or if I saw anything else, I knew I couldn't have that conversation with him. I knew I had to find other people who were like me, who would understand and believe me, as they might be psychic themselves, or they're just big believers. They've had some kind of paranormal experience of some sort. So that's how I had to leave it. And, I'm not going to say it was easy, because it wasn't. It wasn't easy to be with someone and not feel like I can be my full authentic self and be free, And so I remember there was one evening, my husband came home from work. He was a big manager for a big company, and he was up in upper level management, like director. And so he came home and he was telling me that he was having problems with one of the employees at work, and wasn't sure what to do, because he had tried everything he thought at that point, and wasn't sure how to have a conversation with this person, and so on and so on. So I sat there and I'm like, I listened, and then it's like, well, I mean, you're asking my advice, my opinion, so on. It's like, well, my gut instinct says, if you do option A, like you're considering doing, it's going to turn out this way. But if you handle option B and how I'm telling you how it should be, my intuition says it's going to turn out this way, which would be the way you would want it to turn out, So, he's like, okay. So next day, goes to work, comes home. I can tell he's stressed out. I can tell he's even probably, upset and pissed, you could say. And I just kind of look at him like, hey, what's wrong? What's going on? And he starts telling me that he, had a discussion with this one employee, and the employee acted, the way option A I had told him it would happen. And at this point, I mean, I'm mad and I'm frustrated. I'm very frustrated, and I'm listening to him go on his little rant and all that. And I just looked at him. I'm like, I said, you know what? I said, I don't even know why you asked for my opinion, my advice, my suggestions, when you don't even listen to what I have to tell you, And I said, you know what? I said, I told you yesterday that if you did option A, that's how it would turn out. But if you did option B, it would turn out the way you would want it to. And I said, but you didn't listen to me. You did option A, and it happened exactly as I said it would. And now you want to come home and complain and, whine to me about it? I said, I told you my intuition said that, but you didn't listen to me. You don't believe anything I offer you, so what's the point? I said, it's frustrating. I said, over the years, when we met, and I'm talking like this was like over like maybe 3 or 4 years after we had been married is when this conversation took place. I said, over all the, these last few years, you knew I was psychic. Yes, I knew you were a hardcore skeptic. I said, but at the same time, I've given you all these, advice over the years, and I'll specifically say to you, my intuition says this, or my gut instinct says that, and you never listened to me. I said, and then you come back to me later and complain that it didn't go the way you wanted it to, and I'm just throwing my hands up in the air like, what do you want me to do about it, I said, so, I can go through the whole list, and I did with him. I went through the whole list over those few years. I said, do you remember when this happened? And did it not turn out exactly this way like I told you it would? Or do you remember when that happened? Or you had the conversation with so-and-so and I told you it turned out this way? And, and I just went through the list. And then we even had a telepathic connection one time, like an experience, to where I even picked up the phone and called him and told him that I knew exactly what he was thinking. I knew he was thinking of me at that moment, and I could tell him a little bit of what he was thinking about. I said, so all these things, that I've told you about, but you don't believe me, so what do you want me to do, and I am, at that point, I got up and I walked away to go cool off, well, my husband apparently thought deep about what I had said to him over the course of that night. And I think it was probably the next day, he came home from work and, and he sat down with me and he apologized and, he's like, you're right. I didn't, listen to you. You're right. I didn't believe in you. I said, but you also knew that I didn't believe in psychics. I said, yes, I did know this. He's like, but, you pointed some, things out that I didn't stop to think about before. And, so I went back and thought about all those times that you brought up. And yeah, you're right. You're right. You were right all those times. And he's like, and me being a logical, rational person here, I had to sit there and really evaluate it from that standpoint of, if you aren't psychic, then you wouldn't have been right all those times. And he was like, and I even tried, approaching it from a logical standpoint of it being a lucky guess. But he's like, but then again, if it was just a lucky guess, you wouldn't have been right every time. To where you've been right every single time. He's like, so, you know what? I wasn't a believer in psychics before. He was like, but I'm a believer now. And I do believe in you, and I'm sorry that I didn't listen or believe in you. But now, you've changed me. I believe in psychics all because of you. You won me over. And I gotta tell you, that was a huge, huge weight off my back, because I felt at that point I could truly come out and be myself, my whole self around him, and be able to share these things with him. And not be hesitant of, well, how do I get around this? Or how do I get around that? Whatever the situation was. And it brought us closer together. And he stayed true to when I would, say certain things. He generally would listen to me. Because I even told him, I said, listen to me. I said, when I tell you, there's going to be a difference between me giving you just my opinion, from me. I said, but then there's going to be that point where I'm going to say something along, I have a gut instinct, or my intuition says that, okay? Those are the key words you got to listen to, gut instinct or intuition. I said, because when I'm saying one of those two things, okay, that's not coming from me just being another human being walking this earth. That's coming from heaven, okay? They're telling me to tell you this. So heaven is like saying, hello, Tony, And so he's like, okay, and he said that he would pay attention more closely to what, what I say. And, when I would, say those specific things. And I also got to be more open with him about the spirit orbs I would see. Because I also noticed in those few years we had been married, it's changed a lot. And when I say it changed drastically for me. Like from just seeing white and gold to seeing all kinds of different colors and shapes and so forth. But, so I got to share that side of it with him. And then the occasional, once in a great while, when I would see a full body apparition, I could share that with him too. Or if I got a warning about something, I could also share that with him. So it made things a lot easier on me. And it helped, strengthen our bond. And so I was very thankful, and I was lucky. Because now, my husband's my biggest cheerleader. He is like my biggest fan. He's the one that even encouraged me to come out here on social media and talk about all these different things. And he's been pushing me to be more open about it, you know. So that's why I'm here. He was one of the main reasons. So that's one way I've had to handle it. But another way I've had to handle it is, I remember I had a friend of mine, this was many years ago. We were at lunch one day, and she was talking to me. She was having some relationship issues. And she felt like her relationship wasn't going well, and she even thought that he was possibly cheating on her. And I just kind of, listened, and then I got a message that's, telling me, yeah, she's right, but I couldn't say that to her. Not like that anyways. So I had to ask her the questions. It's like, okay, well, I'm just curious. I know this is going off topic, but I just got a question. I said, do you believe in psychics? Do you believe in ghosts? Do you believe in heaven? Do you, believe in God? What's your beliefs and that standpoint on all those things, So she just told me, she's like, no, I don't believe in psychics. Those those are people that are doing work for the devil. And she said, and as far as ghosts, yeah, I believe in ghosts, but I don't believe they're like human spirits. Those are demons, or familiar spirits as they're called. So I just kind of was taken back by that, because she's like, I'm a Christian woman, so I believe in the Bible and what the Bible says. Okay, fine, I understand. So I couldn't like tell her the messages I was getting right at that moment. I had to approach it differently. So the way I had to approach it with her is, listen, you're telling me that you're struggling in your relationship with your boyfriend, and you feel like you can't trust him. I said, well, if you're asking for my advice, I think you need to reevaluate your relationship with him. I said, because if it were me, I couldn't be in a relationship with someone I didn't trust. And that's exactly what it sounds like to me that you're dealing with here. You don't trust him. So how is that a relationship? Not a good one, not a healthy one, at least, from my perspective. So that's what I think. So no, I wouldn't stay in that relationship if I had that serious doubt. So, and that's how I left it. And I think she eventually did break up with him. And I think it was confirmed that, yeah, he was cheating on her. So, I left that alone. But through those years, I felt like with certain people, because I valued my relationship with them, or even family members. Like, I got family that has no idea I'm psychic. And I just don't bring up that conversation. I don't bring up the topic in any kind of way unless they somehow bring it up. And then I ask the questions. What are your beliefs? And so on. So that's how I approach it. So no, I never would come out and just, tell everybody, guess what? I'm psychic. No. I've never been that way. And I've never wanted to be that way, And, because I've always valued other people's, beliefs, and had respect for them, and to be considerate that their beliefs and the way they feel and think about things is different from mine. And that's okay. That's what makes us different, but that's what makes this world beautiful too, is our differences, just as much as our similarities. So I've always approached it that way. I said, but now it's more for like, being on social media like this, if some of my family member friends were to come across this, how are they going to react? I don't know. It could be good, it could be bad. I don't know. I won't know until that day comes, if they happen to come across this. But what I do know is now I can't hide myself that way. Because I feel as though God and the spirit world, angels and all that, are wanting me to do this. In fact, I had an unbelievable experience some years ago that I'll share in a future video, having to do with angels. And I felt back then that what, I experienced, that was them telling me that I needed to share that experience with the world. So that's kind of one of the reasons why I created this channel, because I wanted people to hear it, and I wanted them to be able to see my face, look into my eyes, and hear my voice as I tell the story. So that's one of the main reasons why I created this channel. But and I will share it in the future. But I feel like I shouldn't be ashamed of who I am anymore. I shouldn't hide away who I am. Does that mean that every person I see on the street, I'm going to say, oh, guess what, I'm psychic? No. Does that mean that every family member or friend who comes around me who doesn't know I'm psychic, does that mean I'm just going to suddenly open my mouth say I'm psychic? No. But if they want to bring up that conversation somehow, I'll have that conversation with them. But, to just, not be, on social media trying to help people, because that was one of the main reasons why I wanted to create this channel too, was to help people. Then, if they're uncomfortable with it, I'm sorry. But at the same time, I also have to look at it as maybe, we're not meant to be in close contact anymore. Does that mean that, we don't love each other or whatever? No. But our differences may be too much great that we got to go our separate ways. But I would still send love and light and all that to them and wish them well. But I'm not going to, be ashamed of who I am. Is how I view it now. So, but like on social media, I know I've been attacked on other social platforms. And, I've been called the devil and, or, mentally ill, I need psychiatric help and so on. I'm sure many of you probably have seen those kind of comments, or maybe you've experienced that yourself. And those people, they're strangers. I don't know who those people are. So I don't even engage in the conversation. I don't, when they leave comments, I don't respond. And that's the boundary I put up, is no, you don't understand that, if I just said that, you may not believe in this, but let's agree to disagree and be respectful and move on. No, you got to come on my social media platform and say, all these negative things. Well, I'm not going to allow that. I'm not going to allow you to bring that negativity to a safe place I'm trying to create for those who do believe, who need to hear what I have to say, along with many others just like me. I'm not going to have that toxic environment. So I may give them a warning, and if they don't accept that warning and don't hush up, then I just block them. But more times than none now, I go ahead and just block them. If they leave me a comment, start going in about something, I don't even finish reading the comment. So it's like, it was just a waste of time for them to do that, because I won't even read it. I'll just block it, delete it and block. So that would be my suggestion to you if you're dealing with situations like that, or you're just not sure how to approach it. How does people like myself navigate that? And that's the best way I can give it to you, is how I have navigated those waters. And yeah, I know it's not easy, but you got to do what you feel is right for you and what you can live with and what puts you at peace. Because I know for me, for all the people out there who want to talk crap and say I'm full of it, or I'm a phony, or that I'm the devil, whatever those comments are, I don't allow it to get to me. Because, see, I don't put my worth in what they believe. That's not where my value is. My value is how I see myself and what I know and how I'm, experiencing it, and I'm, living in my truth, and I'm speaking my truth. They may not believe it's my truth or agree with it, but that's their problem. But, that's not going to stop me from being on here and trying to help the people, who may need the help, and the ones who need to hear this. Because I just don't think there's enough people out there who are, talking about these different topics and how they've, handled it over the years or whatever. So, this is just another way for me to try and help more people, because that's what I want to do. So I don't allow any of those people to, make me lose sleep or make me doubt myself or allow them to get in my head. It's just not worth it. And then I know another question, which I'm going to touch on real quick. But I'm going to make some videos, going deeper into this. But I just want to bring this up real quick. I know some people have asked me, how do you deal with precognition, which is like premonitions, where someone, can foresee the future, whether it's through dreams or whether it's just like a warning, like a deep feeling that's telling you, or maybe you even just get a direct message from heaven that's saying this is what's going to happen. And how do I handle those situations when it's come to loved ones? If it could, if they could possibly be in danger or ill, or even worse, unfortunately, end up dying. That's just gonna really depend on the situation for me. Like the example I gave about my friend, that's how I approach that. But when you're talking about premonitions, precognition, it really depends on the situation. If it means that someone I love, that I'm close to, is going to end up in the hospital or possibly die, 99% of the time, I don't bring it up. I don't tell them. Okay? And I got genuine reasons behind that, that matter to me. But I won't bring it up because the way I look at it, I'll just give you an example, let's just say you had an Uncle Joe and you have a dream that Uncle Joe is suffering with heart problems that you weren't aware of. And you are being told that Uncle Joe may die in 6 weeks. Well, what do you do? Do you go and tell Uncle Joe, like, Uncle Joe, I had a dream that you're going to die in 6 weeks. I know you got heart problems and blah, blah. No. At least I'm not going to do that. Because the way I see it is, all that person is going to do is sit there and worry about it. Like, Uncle Joe, instead of Uncle Joe living out the last 6 weeks of his life the way he would want to live and make the best of it, and be happy, all he's going to do is sit there and worry himself to death. And then that his last 6 weeks, he went into a shell and stopped going out and seeing people, doing the things he loved and enjoyed. I'm not going to do that. And I don't believe in doing that. And understand me, I have had close loved ones where I've gotten warnings like that. And it's a struggle. I gotta tell you, it's a struggle, but it's one I've had to really take a step back and really look at it from all perspectives. There's a couple of them where, or maybe, I want to say 4 or 5, maybe, I might have, done something a certain way. I may not have told the person, who's dying that they're gonna die, but I was forced to tell someone else. But that situation, there's so many variables in that. But I normally will not do that. Because not only, like we're talking about Uncle Joe, not only am I going to worry Uncle Joe to death, but I'm going to worry all the people that's close to Uncle Joe. And they're going to do the same thing. Like act that way or call him like, or stop by his house, Uncle Joe, you're going to die and blah, blah, blah. And I don't want you to die. No. Okay? Now, I might go around about it in a way of, telling my loved ones in a sense like, well, Uncle Joe hasn't been doing well for a while. He has heart problems, How about, we go and spend, some time with him. Maybe we call him up and go over there and take him out to dinner or something like that. I'll try and find a way around it without telling them exactly the premonition or the precognition experience I experienced. So that's just an example, but it's really going to come down to you. What are you comfortable with? What can you live with? I know what I can live with and what I can't. But it comes down to exactly how you feel and what you think about it. But, you know, I mentioned this in another video, and I'm just going to go through it real quick with you just to give you a quick example of what I'm talking about. I met up with my brother at his house. This was back in April, to have a family get-together to go out and celebrate my birthday with him, his wife, and his kids, and my husband. Well, we made plans to meet up at his house, and then we were going to go to the restaurant where he made reservations for the place I want to eat at. We went to the house before our reservation, so, you know, I can just spend some time with them, hanging out with the kids and everything, because I love my niece and nephews. And right when we were getting ready to leave to head to the restaurant, I had a bad feeling something was going to happen on our way to the restaurant. But I couldn't figure out exactly what it was at that point. Like, I didn't understand, you know. But something kept telling me not to leave yet. And so I just kind of took a step back for a minute and just thought about it and just tried to figure out what's going on here. And then suddenly, I got a vision of a black SUV that's sitting under a traffic light in an intersection, and there's damage on the passenger front end. And, you know, I saw, you know, all around it, but I didn't see another vehicle. And it's like, oh no, is this really it? Is this what this is? You know, so I'm like, okay. So I didn't tell my brother or my husband or anyone else that I had that vision. I just said to my brother and them, I said, can we wait like 10 or 15 minutes before we head out, you know, to the restaurant? You know, he's like, yeah, that's fine. You know, we got an hour to get there, and it's only going to be like a 40-minute drive. Okay, cool. So we waited the 10, 15 minutes, and then we left. And halfway to the restaurant, would you believe, we come through that intersection that I saw in my vision, and there was a black SUV sitting in the middle of the intersection under a traffic light, and there is front end damage on the passenger side. But I'm looking around again, I don't see another car until I see to the right, and I see there's a car off in the ditch. And it's like, oh crap. So what I saw happened, okay? But because I went through and I, you know, told my brother and them, you know, could we wait? We didn't end up in that accident, but that's what was supposed to happen. How we left on time, like we had originally planned. So after that happened, when we got up to the restaurant and we had checked in, I just told, you know, I told my brother, I said, did you see that bad wreck we came through with that black SUV and the car in the ditch? He was like, yeah. I said, you remember when I told you we needed to wait a few extra minutes before we left, you know, to head up here? He's like, yeah. I said, there's a reason why. I said, our parents were trying to show me that that was supposed to be one of us in that accident. I said, but because I got that warning and you thankfully listened to me, we were able to avoid it. And my brother looked at me and he's like, you know, he was, you know, thankful for it, but then he's like, you know what, I've had that experience before too. You know, he's told me that, you know, he's gotten warnings, and in fact, he's like, you know, that's why I have those angel wings tattooed on my back. Because he said he's had several instances just like what I was experiencing. And, you know, not just being in the car and avoiding car accidents, but in other ways. But, you know, that was one of them. So my brother understood where I was coming from. But as you can see, I didn't tell him exactly before it happened, because I didn't want to scare him or anyone else, and I didn't want to worry them. As long as we waited, you know, at the house like we did, then I felt like it would have been safe to leave the house when we did. And it so happened to be that way. So I hope that kind of gives you a rough idea, an example of where, you know, I've had to juggle, you know, between believers and non-believers, and then on the topic of precognition, how I've handled loved ones, you know, or making them, you know, understand or whatever. It's really going to depend. I'll make, you know, videos in the future here soon about some of those experiences I've had with precognition and how I've handled it. And so you can get a rough idea of situations, scenarios where it's happened with me. So I hope this video has been helpful to you. I hope there's something in it that resonates, that, you know, will help you along your path, your journey in this life, and give you a better understanding of, how to handle different things if you've, you know, experienced some of the things that I have and so forth. So, but I'm going to end it here. If this video resonates with you, if my energy resonates with you, what I talk about on here, please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing my video. Make sure you hit the bell to where you select all so you get all the notifications for when I do post future videos. And I hope that you all have a wonderful, blessed day. And I wish you much happiness, much love, and many blessings. Until next time.